my life, removing pain. Lord, let my words heal a heart that hurts. I want to spend my life mending broken people. I want to spend my life mending broken people. Hello and welcome to 3ABN Today. My name is John Lomacang. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. And if you are part of our 3ABN family, you already know my name. But if you're just tuning in for the first time, remember this network. One we believe is ordained by God to carry a three angels' messages, an undiluted message to the world to get the world and God's people ready for His soon return. Today we have a very interesting program. Now we live in a day and age where health is a tremendous issue, and some individuals are slaves to the practices and habits of their lives that sometimes seems irreversible. Well, today our program and our guests are going to talk about how nature, how natural remedies, how things that we have sometimes often forgot about can make a difference in enhancing our health and maybe sometimes reversing things that we thought were not reversible. And so stay tuned for a very informative and exciting program about health and how our lives can be enhanced. We also want to thank you for your prayers and your financial support of this network as we believe we're going and growing, getting ready for the coming of our Lord. We're going to go right into our program today. We're talking about Black Hills Health and Education Center, located in the beautiful hills of South Dakota. And our guest today, we're going to have a total of 6 guests on our program, but we're going to meet the first 3 right now. First of all, good to have you here, Sylvia.
Thank you.
For our audience, those watching and listening to the program, tell us who you are, where you're from, and briefly what you do right now.
My name is Sylvia Malott-Small. I'm from the Black Hills of South Dakota, and currently I'm president of the Black Hills Health and Education Center. Okay. And it's a place where God put me, and wonderful place to be.
Wonderful. Good to have you here today. And our guest in the middle, I know you very well, Al. Good to see you again.
You too, John.
Yeah, I remember when you were at Broadview Academy. And so good to have you here today. Al Trace, I'll just say that because we go back a ways, but tell us what you do at Black Hills and what capacity you serve there right now.
Well, I'm the director of the School of Massage Therapy at Black Hills. We are actually the only Christian massage school in the country.
Wow.
We're excited about that.
Okay, well, I'll be coming to see you.
Good.
Good to have you here today. And Dr. John Kelly, so good to have you here today. You've been to 3ABN before, but for those who have not met you before, tell us what you do right now and what capacity you are at Black Hills.
Thank you. Yes, I'm John Kelly. I work at Black Hills in doing lifestyle medicine training, and also researching some of the outcomes of the patients.
Okay.
And so my work has grown to where I work with other centers as well, just recently at Weimar. So I'm doing lifestyle medicine training.
Good. Good to have you all here today.
Thank you.
And you know, when we think about health, right now one of the crises in America, and I think in many parts of the world, is health. Healthcare costs are continuing to skyrocket. Pharmaceutical drugs, that's an industry that's just multiple billion-dollar industry, maybe trillions if you think on a worldwide scale. But Black Hills has taken a spot in the work that God has ordained them to do. And so I want to begin with you, Sylvia, president of the Black Hills Health and Education Center. Give us some background on Black Hills. Tell us a little bit about the center and how long it's been there and what capacities and what functions it has.
Well, it's interesting you said a spot.
That's right.
God has given us a beautiful spot in the Black Hills. More than 40 years ago, some of our founders found out firsthand how lifestyle medicine could change through a family member of theirs who had very severe health problems. Mm-hmm. She's still alive today, but she went to a then existing healthcare lifestyle center. And they felt a burden that they wanted to open and make such a center available in mid-America, in the South Dakota area. They found this 260 acres, beautiful, it's in a canyon, and so the road dead ends where the center is in this canyon. It starts wide and it goes narrower. We have a year-round creek called Battle Creek, of all things, that runs through it. And it's just an absolutely gorgeous, peaceful place with the birds and the animals. It's a wonderful location to come and recover in God's nature. And for 40 years, the center has been doing lifestyle medicine, live-in programs where people come and they spend approximately 3 weeks there for the full program, where they're changing their habits and learning how to live according to the 8 natural laws that's found in the Bible, the proper diet and exercise and air and water and all of that. So it's just, we're just privileged to have this most beautiful location, and have been there all these years, and we're just looking forward to, as we're expanding our programs, and we've got these great plans of things how we're going to continue with by God's grace and with His blessings, continue to grow and be able to minister to people to help them improve their lives, and in doing so also learn about the God who created them and loves them and wants them to have eternal life.
You know, I went to Black Hills. My wife and I went there. I was invited, actually not to be a part of the program, but I was invited to do a week of prayer, some spiritual talks every day. But while being there, I benefited from really, really good food. I didn't think food could taste so good when you take away all the paraphernalia that we add to it. You know, a lot of times we eat salad, but there's so many things on top of the salad. And, you know, I was asking some questions. Well, where is this? They said, oh, no, we don't have that. But use this instead. And I thought, salad? Where are all my external dressings that I pour on it? And after about one day, I thought, wow, that cucumber tastes like a cucumber. That carrot tastes like a carrot. And a lot of times people live their lives and they don't actually focus on healthy eating. And a lot of things that we are suffering with can be remedied and well on our way to maybe lowering our blood pressure or dealing with cholesterol, some of the things that are lifestyle related. And Dr. Kelly will talk about that a little bit more. But I appreciated Black Hills. Every morning we woke up, one thing we were assured of, nice crisp air, clean blue skies, and instead of driving from our lodge to the center, we walked. And every day we felt good. After about 4 days, my wife and I said, you know, maybe we ought to come up here and do this program. We got doing the weights, and they took us on the long afternoon walks. Beautiful, beautiful center. And those of you watching, listen to the program, we'll give you information at the end on how you can participate and maybe find out how to get to be a part of the Black Hills Center. Thank you for laying that foundation. And so you have people, Al, you've been there now for not too long, but tell us about this. You introduced a moment ago Christian Massage Center. Tell us more about that.
Well, the massage school actually started back in the 1990s before licensure was required. Then in 2007, the state of South Dakota required state licensure if you were going to teach an accredited program, certificated program. So in 2007, the program started as a licensed program, and since then we've had a number of students. And it's really challenging today. There are a lot of Christians, and in our case, we have a lot of Adventist Christians coming through the program that can find a place to study without getting into all of the Eastern modalities. Most schools today teach energy work, and which we don't. We try to be more evidence-based, and we've just been really blessed. Every class becomes a blessing to us.
That's true.
And yeah, it's a special. We've got a program starting in the next few months. And we normally average anywhere from 6 to 10 students, which is a good number for us.
So you're teaching them to do?
We're teaching them, and then they're eligible to get state licensure in whatever state they're living by taking the national exam.
Wonderful.
And at this point in time, we have over a 99% pass rate on the national exam since the school started, which is exciting.
You know, I remember years ago, my wife and I, what we do is when we travel, sometimes we take long flights, 14 hours. I remember going to Australia once, and we were in the very back of the plane in United Airlines. And we vowed never to sit all the way in the back where the tail is continually bumping. And the first question they asked us when we landed, they said, what would you like to do first? I said, could you take us to the mall? We need a massage. And many people don't realize the therapeutic nature of a massage. And but to learn it the way that you talked about, I like the fact that you talked about you don't get into the Eastern modalities, you're not getting into all the discussions that sometimes tend to lean on New Age ideology, but just a healing of the body.
There are a lot of challenges for massage therapists today. It's becoming just heavily involved. The Eastern modalities are becoming heavily involved in massage therapy. And so we speak to the students a lot about that. You've really got to be firm. You've got to understand what you believe, understand what is the appropriate modalities to use. You know, there's a number of modalities that are very heavily involved in mysticism and Eastern techniques.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's great. The first week of the program, we have a week-long biblical response therapy training for our students, which they all love. It sets the tone for the program. We get a number of students every year at every session that have found us on the web.
Okay.
And I said, how did you find us? We just Googled Christian Massage School.
Okay, wonderful.
And it's pretty exciting. We've got some coming this year, this next year, from Ohio, Maryland, California, from all over the country, basically.
Wow, wonderful. You know, just before I get to Dr. John Kelly, I want to show a couple of pictures because we bragged about how beautiful it is in Black Hills, and I think people should be able to see, those who are watching should get at least a glimpse of what it looks like in the Black Hills. We'll walk through a couple of pictures here and tell us what we're watching.
All right, well, this is just the natural beauty around us. And then we're going to see, the next one will be the Lifestyle Center. This is our Lifestyle Center building, and another view from it during summertime.
Wow.
That's what it's like most of the time, although we do occasionally get some white stuff. This is employee housing and then student housing and guest housing, non-lifestyle guest housing. But as I say, it does sometimes be winter. That's the Battle Creek I was talking about. It is a year-round creek. This is just our beautiful valley and our beautiful Battle Creek. And it's just that the hikes that you can take and everything are superb. And I do believe that is one of God's ways of healing, is getting out in the fresh air and experiencing the calm and peacefulness of nature. At night, you can open your window and you can hear the creek.
Wow.
Because there's no other sounds. I mean, it just really is an escape from the world to come and rest and recover your spirit as well as your body.
As a young man raised in New York City, I understand exactly what you mean. When we open the window in New York, we hear cars and tires screeching and any number of sounds, music and all. But my wife and I now live out here, where we open the door. If we hear sounds at night, we know it's got to be the raccoon going for the bird food.
Right.
You know, some kind of, maybe the possum eating out of the pan, or the groundhog comes up during the day and looks in the window while we're there and says, did you forget to put my food out today? And so nature is a beautiful healing method, and God has really wrapped Black Hills in a wonderful setting, which really is good for people that need medical help, which is a good segue to Dr. Kelly. Dr. Kelly, good to have you here.
Good to be with you.
Remind us, actually walk us down some of the things that you participate in at the Black Hills Health and Education Center.
Sure, but before, let me just say one thing, is having been the medical director there for a couple of years, it's so good to have the massage students there. They're there for about 6 months, and they are good Christian young people, although we have some mature students now and then. And it's such a wonderful influence on the campus. I mean, I just, it really does add an element that makes it fun to be there. But anyway, to your question. So, well, when the Lord brought me and my wife there to Black Hills about 3.5 years ago, there was a need for a physician, and there had been a really robust program, but through some change in personnel, we had to sort of rebuild. And it was a real blessing to me and to my wife. She actually does the accounting on campus.
Okay.
We began by establishing a program that was built around an accredited curriculum so that we were able to offer training for physicians. And so, you know, I was involved in starting the American College of Lifestyle Medicine years ago, and that has really grown tremendously. There's about 2,500 or so members now.
Wow.
And the thing that physicians who want to practice these lifestyle change approaches to treatment, the problem is that there's no training. They don't know. You have to figure this out on your own. And many doctors have done that, and nurses, but the demand has been growing, and now we have practically every program that I work with now at Black Hills, we have physicians or physician's assistants or some medical professional involved there to get training. And so the focus that has grown, when I first came, it was building the program using credible curriculum. Now it's actually training physicians and other professionals. I think we've, there at Black Hills already, I believe we've trained somewhere above a dozen. I don't know the exact number, 12 to 15 physicians. And the thing that is, I see happening, you know, Sylvia mentioned that we started 40 years or so ago. And, you know, I consider it a privilege. I knew Dr. Beltz, who was one of the founders. He was the main physician in the program back then.
Okay.
A real, talk about high energy. You know, bless your heart, you are high energy, but Dr. Beltz makes us all look kind of feeble. He was very high energy. But in that 40 years, things have changed. And now, actually, it's a good thing that physicians in their practices are wanting to help their patients make lifestyle changes, to change their diet, to leave off the foods that are harmful, and so on. I mean, we know, for example, that the way we eat has more effect on our gene switches, turning on the healthy genes, if you will, and turning off the unhealthy ones, than anything that science has discovered. I mean, there's a whole field called nutrigenomics built around the idea that a specific nutrient can be discovered that switches on or off a certain type of disease genes. And this is a very complex science, but the point I'm making is simply that how we live, we now know affects our gene switches.
Wow.
It adds a depth of significance. It's way more than just trying to lose some weight or trying to, you know, to clear up our blood vessels. Actually, we can change the gene switches and dramatically change our cells in our body. So that science has convinced and is convincing regular physicians that, yes, this is science-based. I need to learn it. But where? Where do they learn it? Right. So I'm excited that I also had the privilege of being the lead author of the board review course for physicians who can take their boards, just like taking the massage school board. You take a board in lifestyle medicine. So that's really the main thing that I work on, and the Lord opened that door since I've been there at Black Hills.
You know, the amazing thing about that, I'm listening to the switches point. That's why a lot of times we program our bodies to expect certain things. I know the first time, and I've seen somebody do this once, a little baby, a parent put a little olive, like a little green olive on their tongue, and the baby's head almost shrunk half the size because it was so sour. They went, But I would say that introduction was so sour, the baby hadn't had any database of that taste before, and it just really shocked a child. And sugar could do the same thing, and the body starts to chronicle all these tastes, and you're turning certain switches on and certain switches off, and then all of a sudden you build this taste expectation that your body is now longing for it and expecting it and craving it.
It's true.
And so then what I'm hearing you say is we could retrain our bodies by resetting those switches and turning on the right switches. Am I kind of going along the same path?
No, exactly. Actually, there's two dimensions to it. There is that taste that we develop for certain things, but then there's another aspect, and that is depending on what our regular diet is, affects the switches. So it's not the one-time taste, but it's the habitual. Yes, but a very similar kind of thing. Well, actually, you know, we do have the ability to. Our taste buds has been shown with biochemistry, with science, that they change in response to the choices I make in my food. So if I decide I want to go ahead and eat that sour olive, I will develop a taste for these green olives. If I decide I want to eat candy bars, I will develop a taste. And that's what you're driving at. You get this habitual desire. I tell people, you know, you do not just inherit genes from your parents. You inherit recipes.
Wow.
And so
that's a good one. Your body is, in some sense, what's the phrase that's used? Hereditary?
Yes.
Hereditary things are often communicated that if you practice, it becomes cultivated.
Correct. We think that we inherit, for example, a taste for meat, but in reality, there's a lot of cultivation to that, and we can change that choice.
And I'm learning that even certain smells, like if somebody's cooking certain things, it'll bring out an expectation because you smell something that you could associate taste with, and then just the taste buds, and it starts watering, and you say it's almost lunchtime, or I hope it's almost lunchtime. But I was there at the Black Hills, and I really appreciated, we're going to talk about this in the second half of the program, the diet, the food, all those things that really are significantly part of the program, of all the curriculum that you offer, the massage, retuning the body. And I tell you, Al, very few people understand the importance of a body in tune. But my wife and I, we can tell when we've driven too long, we can tell we got to get ourselves adjusted, go to a good chiropractor. And then food. When we went to the Black Hills, one thing we noticed after about 3 days, and I think it's the food, we were less tired. We went to bed earlier. We walked in the morning. We breathed clean air, and we were less tired. And I thought, why am I so tired when I go back home? And I realized it's not activity. Sometimes it's environment and the things we put in our bodies. And what else you want to add to that?
I just want to add to what Dr. Kelly said, because it's such an incredible point. We're told you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free.
Yes.
We are not slaves to our genetics. People say, I was born this way.
That's true.
I was born with propensity towards heart disease or obesity or anything else. And what Dr. Kelly expresses in his lectures, I loved his lecture, was that we can change those switches. We might have that DNA, but how, and it's not just food. It is your whole lifestyle. I mean, the way that you stress or don't stress, all components of it. That's why you can't just dwell on the food, but all components of it. And what Dr. Kelly did, and we started off our session, one of our last sessions, and the guests were amazed because they thought they were condemned to be like their parents and grandparents, and to be told that you have the freedom through your lifestyle choices. Our God is a God of freedom. You have the freedom through your lifestyle choices that you can change. Not your genetics maybe, but the switches on your genetics, that you do not have to be condemned to live the life of your parents and your grandparents if there's health issues.
Anything else you want to add to that, Dr. Kelly?
No, I will say this, that, we bring that point out in the beginning of the program because, as Sylvia is just saying, it's transformational information. The guests realize the potential, and we want them to grasp the potential as early in the program as possible so they get as much benefit as possible. So, but it is amazing. I mean, I give that talk literally around the world on the epigenetics and lifestyle medicine, and it is transformational. People have a completely different understanding of making healthy lifestyle change when you realize it's changing my gene switches. I'm turning genes on and off by my choice. Dr. Randy Girdle was the one that first published research on this from Duke University, and I love one of the statements that he made about this. He says, epigenetics is proving that we have some responsibility for our genome.
Right.
That's right.
And it introduces the understanding of free will into genetics, which for 20 or 30 years, the dogma was, well, you can't pick your parents. Well, you can't pick your parents, but you can choose your lifestyle. You don't have to eat the same recipes that mom. If they're not healthy, we can change them.
So it's not necessary. We're not predisposed and pre-programmed to fail, to be out of shape, to be overweight. In many cases, some of those things may be hereditary, but it doesn't say you have no choice, and that's what I'm hearing.
That's right.
You do have a choice.
John, I don't want to be personal here, but my own experience was about 15 years ago. I had quadruple bypass surgery.
Wow.
And I had to make major changes. I was 80 pounds heavier. And what John is saying, I had to make some serious decisions. And by God's grace, I'm still kicking, And that's, to me, what's the blessing about the kind of program that we offer.
That's right.
Changes can be made. Not easy.
But it can be made.
But it can be made, and the results are pretty amazing.
Wonderful, wonderful. When we're talking about Black Hills Health and Education Center, there are a number of other components to it that we're going to talk about in the second half of our program. And I think a wonderful time, we're thinking about what you contribute. But as we talk about this health center, this education lifestyle center, it's Christian-based. And it's able to be Christian-based because of the tribute that the Lord has made in each one of our lives. Christianity is not something that's just theological, but it's also practical.
That's right.
It's educational. It's based on your health. It's a total lifestyle.
It's scientific.
And so many people today, there's science to Christianity. And when you think about that, I can't think of a better song to segue to the second half than the song, My Tribute. How can I say thanks? And right after this song, we're going to transition into some other components of the Black Hills lifestyle, health and education center. Thank you for that wonderful song, My Tribute. Sam Ocampo, he really has a connection to that piano. And as I segued into that particular song, the tribute that the Lord has made in our lives have enabled each of you to participate in now your contributions to those who come to the Black Hills Health and Education Center. If you glance at all, you might notice that there's some different people that are here, and I'd like to introduce them at the same time. at this time. By the way, Sylvia is the president of the Black Hills Health and Education Center. Good to have you back on the second half of the program.
Thank you.
But the lady to your right, I'll allow you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and in a nutshell, what you do right now.
Okay, I am Janice Grote, and I live in Missouri, but I've had the opportunity and privilege to come and work as a nurse several times up at the Black Hills, and I feel blessed and privileged each time I come. And so I hope to come up there and work for several months in a row now instead of 1 month segments.
She will be.
Okay. The weather and the beautiful atmosphere and setting is getting to you. It's kind of drawing you.
It really does, yes, and the people. And the guests, watching them make their improvements is wonderful.
And your name?
Jan Grote.
Janice Grote, good to have you here.
Thank you.
And I made comment about the young lady sitting next to you, but I'll allow you to introduce yourself and tell us what capacity you're at the Black Hills Health and Education Center.
Okay, I'm Keziah, and I live in South Dakota, and I actually work in the kitchen. I pretty much am running it at this point.
Wow.
So all the cooking and everything involved.
And I heard that as quickly as you summarized that, there's a whole lot more involved. We're going to get that out of you in just a moment. Because I've been to Black Hills before, and I know that one of the staples of that health and education center is food. And it's not just salads, as Sylvia reminded me. It's not just salads. It's a beautiful culinary. And we're going to find out what you do to make the guests keep wanting to come back. And to my far right is Barbara Savage. I was trying to fix it up and make it French like sauvage, but it's Savage. Good to have you here, Barbara.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And tell us your capacity at Black Hills.
I do the massage and hydrotherapy for the women.
Okay.
And wherever else I need to fill in.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad to have you all in the second half of the program. Black Hills is really gaining ascendancy in the minds of those who attend there because we have a number of educational and health centers around the nation. But there's something about Black Hills, not leaving the others out because each one has its own staple and its own specialty. But somehow people like the mountains, they like the clean air, they like the history, they like the valley. And what do you think about all that aesthetics that surrounds you? Just gorgeous garden out there.
Well, nature is God's second book, and we are a ministry. We're a self-supporting ministry, and the people who work here, I consider them missionaries, our missionary pay, but we're there because we have a burden for people, and we want them to live a full, rich life here in this life, but more importantly, we want them to have eternal life.
That's right.
Where they're going to pick from the tree, and it's going to be very plant-based there. But so having the beautiful natural surroundings just helps us. We have people who may not walk closely with the Lord or may have never walked with the Lord. It helps us. The Spirit is there and Holy Spirit helps us with this beautiful natural surrounding to separate them from the world and to make them reduce their stress and think on the spiritual things.
That's right.
And that's just, I think, a very, very important aspect of our program is its natural beauty and where it is. We have, as Dr. Kelly was saying, we have all the evidence-based scientific stuff. Keziah and her menus are fantastic, but being in this natural, beautiful surroundings where you can get out and walk.
That's right.
I think really contributes to the ministry of the program.
Just being there for one day, my stress went from like here to like just sloped down. Because I woke up in the morning to the sound of nothing. And that's important. Not the sound of a car door slamming, not the sound of neighbors walking above our heads, but just to the sound of nothing, or maybe the trees rustling, or a bird in the distance chirping. It's just so beautiful the way that God intended it to be.
And then we do have our spiritual, we do not have anyone here right now representing our biblical response therapy, but we have morning devotions, that's morning stretches and morning devotions with the guests, and we have spiritual and mental coaches that help them go through, and for those who are open to learn biblical applications of how to reduce your stress and various things. And if they have problems, something going on in their life, there are people that they can talk to. For those who don't come in and don't want to be as spiritually inclined, it is optional for them, but most people, guests, will listen in and they still benefit from these concepts that come from the Bible. Even if they aren't yet ready to embrace the Bible, they still benefit from the concepts. So that is a very important element of our program. And again, I'm sorry that none of our spiritual and mental coaches were able to be here today to talk about this. But that's how we start the day. That prayer is a very important aspect, that we pray with the guests, and we don't push anything on them, but we certainly let them know. We're trying to demonstrate not only a good lifestyle for them, but we want to demonstrate God's love through everything that we do.
Wow, social, mental, spiritual, and physical, all the aspects of life that balance us out, which is really interesting to me, because as I asked the RN, the nurse here, Janice Grote, because when people come to the program, let's talk about, so I'm coming in for the first time, what actually happens in preparation for me to become a participant in the program? What kind of protocol does a person go through when they just say, okay, I'm here, I want to enter the program? What do you actually do?
Well, they come in kind of scared, not sure what we're going to do to them. They get scared about what they're going to be fed, and they're relieved real quickly that first morning. But then, as a nurse, we make sure that they know that not to eat anything during the night, and that they will have a blood draw, a pre-blood draw before the program the first morning. And then at the end of the program, the post-draw, they will get to see these wonderful results. And that's a very exciting time for the guest and for me to watch them. Ryan's so animated and so motivated. He was ideal to see his CRP go from a 14 to a 4.
What's a CRP particularly?
It's a C-reactive protein, and that has to do with the inflammation in your body. So anything over 3 is too high. So his going from a 14 to a 4 was so exciting for him.
And that's Ryan Day, one of our guys here.
Yes, exactly.
Singer in Israel and preacher.
Oh, he was such a great guest. We enjoyed him so much. Like I said, he was so animated, and every meal got a picture, and he'd be talking about, now that's my favorite, and then the next day that might be his favorite. So he was so much fun. And so yeah, and his cholesterol also went from, it was a really good drop as well. So he was very happy about that. I was the first one to get to see his weight. We weighed him, and then him coming back and getting that second weigh. He was hoping that he would maybe lose 10 pounds, and was so thrilled when he'd lost 21 pounds, 0.4.
Wow.
And losing 9 inches from, the measurements.
Yeah.
And then...
So the program is very effective, but you assess a person when they go in to kind of see, well, you're at the starting line here now. We're going to gauge you as you, so to speak, run around this track of rehabilitation and change and reform in a lot of areas of your life.
Exactly.
Wow.
And at first, maybe the exercise was a little difficult, and he was getting kind of sore. I remember the second day, both our guests said, or maybe it was the third day, I've been doing really well. They were really wanting to again do the whole program. But then it's like, they both came down and said, I feel like I got ran over by a truck now. I'm not so good this morning. But that's what happens with our bodies. When we start making those changes, then our bodies react, and they start detoxing and such, and it's not a real good feeling. But they came out of that shortly, and we're back on the going forward, quickly.
That's right. They're back on the track of life.
Exactly.
Since you talked about Ryan, I want to show some more pictures here, because it's a very interesting part of the program here. We saw some in the first half of the program. I want to talk about some of these, and maybe you could walk us through. Any one of you could comment on the pictures that we're going to see right now, because this right here, look at that setting. I think that speaks for itself.
Yes,
That's what you see on a daily basis.
That's where you go walking. Jan would lead the walks after lunch.
Yes.
Okay.
And
And that's what time of year?
That looks like June.
Summer.
Spring, summer. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, skies, all these pictures. Now, that's some canyon wall.
Yeah, that's Battle Creek running there, and that's heading back as the canyon gets more narrow
Okay.
behind the center.
And that's it.
Jan, tell about Inspiration Point.
Like I said, Ryan was very motivated, and but it was cold when he was there in the winter time, and we'd been walking most every day, and sometimes that wind is really crazy out there and such. But I said, maybe today is the day. Maybe you should do Red Canyon Road. Well, Red Canyon Road is a very sharp, steep hill. And it's a good 1/4 of a mile. And so, yep, today was the day. And so he we had to make a few stops, but he made it all the way up to a stop sign, which was, by the time we got back home, it was back to the lodge, I should say, it was 1.5 miles. And he was so excited, like that he had been able to do that, knowing a week ago he couldn't have done that.
Wow.
And then the next week, a day before he left, he wanted to go up Red Canyon Road again. So he went all the way up to the stop sign and back, and I think that was 2 miles, but he wanted really to be the one guest who'd walked the most of any guest that'd ever been there.
That sounds like Ryan.
Well,
Wow.
so, but the next day they were leaving, so it's like the next time I come, I'll do that. But I didn't tell about Inspiration Point. We haven't shown that though, so I guess.
Let's just go back to that picture, the down-looking picture from the mountaintop of the center. That one, that right there.
Yeah, and then another day, okay, Ryan, maybe today you should go up Inspiration Point. And so again, he walked to the top, and there's a high five. Maybe they'll show that later, where him and the BRT counselor were given a high five after he'd made it to the top of Inspiration Point. And it's not just smooth walking up to the top.
No, I can see, because the altitude does really, it takes
all
a sharp.
rocky.
Yeah, and there's a lot of rocks and such. So it was an undertaking.
Wow.
But I was so proud of him. He was so much fun to have as a guest.
And part of that, Janice, that made the difference is not only the medical side, but Keziah was making sure he had the fuel.
Oh, absolutely. She's a favorite there, let me tell you.
She's quite quiet, but we're going to get some. Tell us, Keziah, give us a peek into the mind of a culinary artist at Black Hills Health and Education Center.
Well, I guess when I start my days in the kitchen, or when I'm planning a menu, I want to be sure to give the food to the guests that will the quickest, most quickly, and affect the results they want.
Okay.
So I start there, and I look for plant foods, for whole foods, for as much nutrition as I can possibly fit into the meals. Mm-hmm. And then from there I take it and put it into different dishes and try to make it look nice.
Okay.
Not just salads, but all sorts of different things. And even the salads we do have, not just your regular lettuce and salads with dressing, but a variety.
Okay. So there's not only just the nutritional food, but also there's some artistry to it too.
That's the idea.
That doesn't just taste good, it also looks good.
Yes.
Wow.
Every meal is beautiful.
That's right.
It's picture perfect.
That gives a different bend to that song. Every meal is beautiful in its own way. But you're the quiet storm in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because you don't strike me as that person that's going to be shouting, dinner's ready.
No, I actually don't. People come at meal times and I have the food ready to go.
Okay.
But sometimes they do come and stand in the hallway and talk, and then I have to go corral them.
Okay.
But mostly I don't have to do that.
Because they're ready.
They're ready to eat.
They go for one meal.
Yes.
And then let me just ask this question. One of the practices at Black Hills is you try to prevent them or try to encourage them not to eat between meals. Because there's a science to that. I should have asked Dr. Kelly.
The intermittent
Tell us about
fasting. Dr. Kelly would have been a good person to ask. Basically, it is a way for your body to reset between meals and to help your system handle your day, your food better, and to enable you to find more satisfaction in the food that you do eat, so that you're not as tempted to eat between meals.
That's good. So you get the nutrition you need. And think of it this way, between filling up your vehicle, you fill it up and you park it. You don't just keep filling it up. You wait till that fuel burns off, then you put the fuel back in. And the body is similar to the same way. And some of us live, like one person once said, they eat one meal a day, all day. And that's not what is a healthy practice.
No.
But for some people that maybe, I'll talk about this at a different time, if you're trying to gain weight, there's a healthy way of doing that. But when you don't eat between meals, you look forward to the next one, which I learned when I went to Black Hills. So I was in that kitchen for breakfast, for lunch, and I surely didn't miss dinner. Because after dinner, the next meal is breakfast. Wow.
Can I just say,
Sure.
you know, all that fiber, I mean, these are high fiber meals, and that helps to hold the food. So it's not emptying out in a hurry and then you're starving.
That's right.
One of our guests said the whole time she was there, she was never hungry. Well, she went from eating 3 meals a day, like most people do, and yeah, so she was so happy about that. But I hope we get a picture of a plate or several plates of the food, because they're going to be amazed at how much they get to intake.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that. I don't want to miss Barbara, because Barbara is very much a part of it. Not only, remind us of your capacity at Black Hills.
I do the massage and hydrotherapy for the
Okay.
guests, women guests.
Now, hydrotherapy, talk about that, because Al Trace talked about some of the massage. Hydrotherapy, somebody might think, hydro water. Tell us about that. Kind of open up that and explain.
Well, we have several ways of giving it. There's Russian steam baths, and contrast showers, and contrast foot baths, and hot and cold fomentations, and infrared sauna. Ryan especially liked the infrared sauna.
Now, the contrast showers, somebody once talked about a funny event at Black Hills. We had a guy that was living here. He had a contrast shower. Would contrast be hot and cold? Which one do you start with?
Hot. They get
Okay.
they get
I cannot, it's in my mind still. He said he was in this contrast shower, and they didn't inform him when they were going to go completely cold, and they heard this blood-curdling scream, and they realized it was him. But contrast, tell us, what does that do? What does that do for you?
Well, it's very stimulating. It'll stimulate your immune system. It's good for people that have depression. It perks them up. It gets a lot of the endorphins going. And it's good for people that are trying to quit smoking.
Wow.
And there's 8 shower heads in the contrast shower. So they're getting it from all directions, and the temperature control's on the outside. And we usually warn them ahead of time that it's going to be, 3 minutes of hot, and then 10 seconds of cold, 3 more minutes of hot, 15 seconds of cold, 3 more minutes of hot, and then it could be 20 seconds, but it could be longer. I just tell them, just tell me when you've had enough. And there were people that were competing at one point. Some were going 2.5 minutes and things like in the cold, and it gets cold, like down to 58 degrees. It can get if you run it long enough, so.
But that's good, though. So the benefit to the body is stimulation, sending the blood to and from to the different organs. Because when you said, how many shower heads? 8 shower heads? So it's, you can't run from one shower head because it's getting it all over the place. Is it a circular shower, or is it?
No, it's just a square shower, but they're on 3 sides.
Okay.
The shower heads are on 3 sides.
Okay, so you do have one way to escape if you want to run out.
Yeah, you can crash out the door if you want to.
But I don't think that people have gone there for that. I mean, it could be hilarious, because this guy, when he was telling me the story, he said, I don't remember if they told me they were going to shift or not, but when it hit me, he screamed. But he came back very, very healthy. That's the one thing that was nice about it. He came back with a different lifestyle, and he learned health, and he surely did get an education. And anything else that you participate in there when you're there? Don't you also? What about the exercise center? Are you?
Well, I'm not a fitness trainer, but we have a very good fitness center, and that's one of the outstanding things about it. And people get personal fitness training, and we have very nice Nautilus equipment.
I remember that.
As well as free weights and everything, so it's a real nice fitness center. And so it's really quite the package that you get: the personal fitness training, and because I didn't mention her vegetarian cooking classes, and the doctor's lectures, and even tours on the weekends and of the beautiful Black Hills.
Wow.
Yeah.
And going group walking,
Group
group
walks.
walking. Did I just hear you say you teach them some of the cooking?
Yes, we have about 5 cooking classes during the 3-week time.
Wow.
And the guests come in the kitchen with me, and we go over the recipes that we use. And if they don't know how to cook, I show them how to cook, from knowing how to chop vegetables to the people that know more of cooking to more advanced things. And it's really fun having them, and they really enjoy it.
Wow.
And then we also talk about things they can do when they go home.
Okay. That's good. So what they get used to,
Right.
they are trained on how they can continue this at home.
Yeah.
That's very interesting, because a lot of times we go home and think, well, they cooked ready up. They gave me good food, but what do I do next?
Right.
And Sylvia, I want to come back to you, because I think there's another picture that we didn't see yet. Was it there a bell?
Oh, there are two pictures, yes.
Yeah, I want to see that.
It's Keziah's kitchen.
Okay.
Of the main lodge.
Okay.
And so that's her kitchen.
That's right.
That's the conference room in the front. And then the bell, and the bell's out in the front yard. So this is the last picture we have.
Okay.
But the dining room has windows on 3 sides. So this is one of the views out of the dining room that you would be looking at that way. And we always take group photos. And so this is where people often congregate, and they will, around the bell, and we will take a group photo.
You also mentioned that you're working on making the program, because it's a self-supporting, you want to try to make the program accessible to people that are denominational workers that could have access to that kind of program. Talk about that.
We're really excited about this, is that we are self-supporting, and we understand the challenges that there are in working for self-supporting, for working for the church or working for a self-supporting support ministry of the Adventist Church. And so, we were talking about Ryan Day of 3ABN being there as a guest, but we want to make it available to denominational employees and employees of church supporting institutions such as 3ABN.
Wonderful.
And so I am working, several ideas we've got, but one of them is I'm working on some donors who will underwrite a program for a month so that we can invite all these people who will be able to come in, and it will not be an economic hardship for them to do so.
Wow.
We also sometimes have scholarship funds, and so individuals also want to come. Sometimes we can get individual sponsoring or use our scholarship fund. So one of our missions, and say I've not been president for that long, but one of our goals and missions is that we so believe in our ministry and what we do that we want to open it up to other people within the church. As they're ministering to others, we want to be able to minister to them, to help them in their ministry.
Wow.
So be looking for great things coming. We're pulling this all together a bit to be able to have special rates and even special programs for denominational and other church-affiliated
Well, I appreciate
employees.
that, because my wife and I are thinking about taking advantage of that. And I know if you're watching or listening to the program, you want to find out how to get in touch with Black Hills Health and Education Center. Here is the information that you need.
If you're interested in improving your lifestyle and want to learn more about the self-supporting ministry of Black Hills Health and Education Center, you can contact them at Black Hills Health and Education Center, Post Office Box 19, Hermosa, South Dakota 57744. That's Black Hills Health and Education Center, Post Office Box 19, Hermosa, South Dakota 57744. You can call them at 605-255-4101. That's 605-255-4101. Or you can find them online at bhhec.org. That's bhhec.org.
Well, as you know, our time comes and goes so quickly. We covered quite a bit of information today about Black Hills Health and Education Center. And as you're watching or listening to the program, that may be something that is on the doctor's list for you to get your life started all over again. Sylvia, President, thank you so much for being here. And Janice and Keziah and Barbara, thank you for being a part of the program. And also we had Al and Dr. John Kelly, who were part of the first hour. But if you wanted to give like maybe 10, 15 seconds to somebody watching or listening to the program, what encouraging words would you leave with us today?
God is love.
Wow.
And God loves us, and He has given us freedom, and we can use that freedom to improve our lives and to minister to others.
That's right. And Janice, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to that healthy aspect of our life. And Keziah, now you got us going on those recipes. And Barbara, we are going to, my wife will come for her massage, and Al will take care of me when we come to Black Hills.
Good.
We're looking forward to coming to that wonderful community where if you don't think that there's any place in America where God still lives, you're wrong. He's in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune into the program today. We believe the Bible says, I desire that you prosper and be in health even as your soul prospers. You can begin at Black Hills. Until we see you again, may the Lord be a blessing in your life. Have a blessed day.